So episode two, I'm gonna ask a few questions about just hand wraps, right? Because
Alrighty.
I want this episode to stay a little bit more of educational. I know there's a lot of people out there I'm sure that people asking the same questions like, what is hand wrap? What did it do? What is the function of it? How do I choose a proper hand wrap? So what is a hand wrap?
Hand wrap is a long, generally, a textile of some sort, usually cotton or cotton blend.
Mm-hmm.
That's you use on your hand, hand wrap, before it's inserted into a glove. The object is to offer support, extra support, and padding. For the small bones of your hand and wrist. Again, just to give it extra stability, extra support, and again, extra padding if you need.
Mm-hmm.
While you're striking targets, bags, objects, people, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And when you hand wrap, I've seen like so many different styles of hand wrapping, right? What is the purpose of wrapping between your fingers?
That is a super good question. I don't think I'm gonna be able to give you the best answer possible.
Mm-hmm.
With like so many things in martial arts or what have you, you're just kind of, hey, do this.
Yeah.
The way it's always been done. I've seen it again. It's only a single strip, but some people say that each of those, the way it's laid out, going between your fingers, that it's offering a teeny bit more padding. Well, it's only one strip or so that may or may not be accurate. Again, just the best I can tell you is extra support.
Extra support that goes.
The places that need it, yeah. Got to be kind of careful with it. You don't pull too much, and it becomes uncomfortable. I think sometimes when people are starting out, when they're going between the fingers, they can have a tendency to really kind of wrench back. Cause a little bit of discomfort there.
Yeah, because I've seen people make the hand wraps really tight to the hand, and then start getting a little numbing sensation.
A little tingle, yeah.
Tingling.
Yeah, with that, it's to me, it's like, I prefer, training wise, something that is that does have a certain amount of elasticity in it, a stretchable hand wrap, of which there's a ton that do that. With those, it's like you almost you don't need to pull excessively tight, because the stretchiness in the material kind of does it itself. So that's definitely something to watch for.
Okay, and then of course I know there's different lengths. There's any like for guys like I know I'm always going for the shortest possible, right? What are the length for? I mean, just maybe it's for the hand size.
More often than not, yeah. Usually the kids, smaller hands, a shorter wrap would probably suffice, because it starts getting too long. You got to put it somewhere, and it just ends up, it can be a little excessive. You can have too much wrap to where it doesn't fit well in your glove, or it's hard to actually close it if you put too much across your palm, for example. But generally, yeah, it's hand size. I think the most common length, is like 180 inches, and then just kind of goes, shorter from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then are there any different ways of how to wrap your hands? I'm assuming there will be, even for boxing and Thai boxing, people do MMA. There's different ways to wrap.
There's definitely different ways to do it. You already talked about going between the fingers. Some people don't go between the fingers. A lot of the wraps, because I don't even have anything here, have a thumb loop. You start looping on your thumb and going. I know people that just completely bypass that.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Some people will, or they start with the loop, and it's just you have the different ways of doing it. Other people will start out making a certain amount of padding out of the first several inches or first couple of feet. So they start with a larger padded portion, to sort of start from.
And how's hand wrap? Because I've seen like the footage and videos when people go into fighting professionally, the wrapping seems a little different.
Well, the first thing, generally, most people like a training wrap is usually different from a fight wrap. The training wraps are meant to be reused again and again and again, where fight wrap is typically just medical gauze, and it's it's a one-time thing. I mean, you can reuse them, but they tend to degrade a lot faster than a training wrap.
Are they just cloth as well on the inside?
Yeah, it's just a gauze. I don't think I have anything with me. It's usually it's length I can't think of, but it's oh, actually, what do you know? Right here.
Oh.
Just gauze.
So like one of a medical, like a medical wrap. Almost.
Yeah. Just this with this, it's not stretchy. It's just it's just the way it's knitted, loomed. I don't know, but yeah, it's literally just medical gauze. That's what we use for like a fight wrap, and then medical tape on that as well.
And I'm assuming the tape that goes around it just kind of stabilizes the wrap itself, right?
Yeah, the same thing. Offers extra support for the wrists and the bones of the hands. You're generally not allowed tape across the knuckles, in the States and internationally. Thailand, it's a little different. They actually build up a little
like a padding.
Kind of calling it padding would be nice. Sort of a I don't know what you want to call it. Just tape over the knuckles. A lot of tape over the knuckles, so it becomes something that can potentially make your fist even dense. Yeah, more dense, a little hard. Will so you've got.
Do they tape horizontally, or do they tape between the fingers or the knuckles?
There's they use. Oh man, there's a handful of ways to do it, but it's usually you're going horizontally across it to build to build a, I don't know what you want to call it, like a little outcropping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, other ways they'll do it, they'll take strips of tape and roll them. Okay. So it becomes, and then they'll apply those to help kind of build it up, and then tape over that. So it becomes, like I said, it's really like making almost like a cast out of it.
Is that why the judge is always touching your hand wraps before they go into a fight, to make sure you don't insert like metal bars?
Yeah, to make sure, and even before that, there's always people, if you have a functioning athletic commission, there's always people there checking your work to make sure that you're not, that it's we're talking like say in the States and most places internationally, that it's soft, that it's gauze built up upon the knuckle versus that layer of hard tape, like you can do in Thailand. So, everything's checked, before you go out. Sometimes some of the judges will check it again, or the referee rather, will check it again. But usually when it gets to that point, it's already gone through a staff member, a commissioner, or something like that, to make sure that there's no funny business going on.
Wow. And do you prefer like open palm? Because I've seen like hand wraps that just leaves the palm open. And then I've seen people just, wrap around the palm. Generally, it's closed palm, right?
No, you can have it
open.
Yeah, I mean, relatively open. Usually, what ends up happening with the way I wrap, we end up with sort of a bar of the gauze. We've taken the gauze and rolled it around, so it becomes something that you can kind of grip onto a little bit. But generally, we have the majority of the palm kind of cut out again, because if you get people kind of inexperienced and you get too much across the palm, you can't make a good fist. So we usually end up with something that's relatively thin, around this portion, so that you can get in and still make like a good solid fist, not anything that leaves you stuck or whatever.
Here's a good question too, because I get asked all the time with the same question. When people are training with the wraps, they keep coming off. What's a good solution to that?
Okay, a couple of things that might lead to that. If you're in a class format, and you're taking gear on and off and so on and so forth, quite often that's what kind of leads to the wraps coming off. So if it's a good amount of that going on, like you're taking gloves on, you're taking gloves off, and you're putting pads on, and you're taking the pads off or focus mitts or whatever. What I've kind of found is that usually is the culprit for the Velcro gets Velcroing it tight, Velcro and you get glove gets stuck on the wrap and pulls part of it off, or just be in and out so many times. I found that's usually the culprit. Like when we're training. If I'm training with, just whatever, one of the fighters one-on-one or just a couple of people, and they're not going in and out of their gloves. If when their gloves go on, they stay on until they're done training.
Yeah.
Wraps stay on. So I'd wager that it's just the nature of a class type format. Things you can do that will probably help out, if you do add, some medical tape afterward, you don't have to do like a full-on wrap like you would for a fight. But, just some medical tape, around the wrist a few times, across the back of the hand, making sure you're not getting anything on the knuckles still. That will oftentimes help kind of keep the wrap in place.
That's
if you have
advice.
a lot on and off with the gloves.
I like that. I might have to try it next time when I teach a class.
See how that goes. See if it works. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when it comes to like competitions, what's a boxing glove ounce for professional fights?
Usually 8 or 10 ounces.
Oh, so it's smaller.
Yeah.
And when you guys train, do you guys prefer like 16, 12, 14?
Kind of depends on the size of the person.
Okay.
Smaller. It's like on a heavier sort of day. We talked about before if they're going to spar a little harder. Generally a grown adult male or whatever is 16 ounce, sometimes even heavier. My smallest people still will use like a 14.
That would be me. I will use 14.
That's nothing wrong with that. And again, just depending upon circumstances and who you're training with. Sometimes we'll even use like a smaller size boxing glove, for a limited, light, controlled sort of sparring, which may or may not be, what am I trying to say? I wouldn't do it with like strangers, but people that know each other and know what they kind of work together and stuff, things like that. We'll do it. And again, it's not hard. They're not trying to really brain, but sometimes we'll use a smaller glove because you can get away with more with a bigger glove. You've got that much more padding, that much wider that you cover things a lot easier, defensively speaking, where the smaller gloves, when you start to get down to, say, MMA glove size, it's literally, it's literally just like the width of the fist. So things before that would get covered, by a larger glove, they're finding holes. If you're not used to that, sorry, someone was knocking on my window there and leaving. If you're not used to that, then, it could be troublesome.
That was my first experience when I went out to CSW and training MMA fights. I was so used to using boxing glove, and when I started fighting with MMA glove, the first thing what happened to me is a hook just went through between my defense.
They find the hole.
Right through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I found them harder to defend and cover because now you're so used to this, but there's a chunk of space right in the middle. The hand just slip right through.
Yep.
The game definitely changed with the glove sizing and difference.
Absolutely.
Do you have any preference when you wrap? I know differences in the thumb on the loop. Do you prefer going against the thumb, down towards the thumb, or do you even use the loop from the wrap?
For like wrapping my own hands or what have you?
Yeah.
You know what? I almost have to do it because I would almost have to to do it to think about what I prefer. Because it's one of those things I don't even think about it anymore. And then plus I really haven't been up my own training as much. No, what I'd usually end up doing when I was training more, I usually ended up with a little bit more, instead of using the thumb loop, I make a little bit of the knuckle pad. And usually, so we'd we'd have a pad for the knuckle, and then part of the wrap kind of hanging off the edge a little bit, so that way we could put the padding across the knuckle and then just use the thumb to hold it while we anchored it in place, and then and then you take your thumb away, and then it's on there before we do everything else.
So for you personally, you don't use a loop from a hand wrap? as much?
Usually not. No, I usually start off, like I said, making some sort of a little bit of padding to the knuckle. So I'm usually not using the loop too much.
I gotcha.
Nip it off, or it just becomes part of the padded section that I use.
That is definitely different because I've seen like different ways to wrap it. Even when I was training with at the camp, everybody teach differently.
Yeah.
So you're learning 3 different ways to wrap the hand.
It's kind of like there's general ideas, general concepts, like a couple of concepts with it, and then from there, then there's the artistic. I mean, can't really say artistic interpretation, but like the main concepts are you're reinforcing the wrist, you're reinforcing the hand, patting the knuckles. You have generally at some point there's sort of a crisscross type of pattern that's happening.
Yeah.
Again, most of the time with the Velcro closure, things are ending on the wrist. So there's like certain basic concepts of how it's done, and then from there you start to do what you need to do. If you need, if your wrist is wonky, you need more wrist support. Obviously, you do more on your wrist. If knuckles are sore, you can start adding extra padding into the knuckles.
Yeah.
It's the limit.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Ajarn. Well, thank you so much for coming in today with me. There's a lot of information across.
Thank you. Anything else I can do, just let me know.
Yes, sir. Hopefully I can make a trip out there next year. That was my plan.
Cool. Please do.
That'll be great. And then
all right.
Please say hi to Ajarn Chai for me. I did not get to see him. So
cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, then I'll see you soon. You take care.
Yes, sir. You too. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Alright guys, so that will wrap up our second episode today. Had a great time talking to Ajarn Bryan Popejoy. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave the information about his gym and his location down below in the description. And if you guys live around the area, I will highly recommend for you guys to actually go try and train with him. The facility itself is amazing. It's probably one of the best Muay Thai gym I ever travel and train with. Okay, so anyways, if you guys in the area, go check it out. I'll leave the description in the comment section below. And if you guys like the video, please don't forget to subscribe. Okay, you'll help me a lot to continue my work, and of course don't forget to share. Okay, thank you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.